I figured out the cheat code to life. A conversation I had last night that I will never forget. I have a couple notes in front of me I want to go through, and I'm going to tell you the name of the person at the end of the video. All credit goes to this conversation. An amazing experience, and it's something that makes you think. Finding your purpose, finding your why, and it's not cliche to figure out you, but at the same exact time, it's finding the inner you. So there's a couple things here. We went from, smoking a cigar, having small talk, and all of a sudden we went down what it seemed a tangent, down a road, a 2-hour conversation, what it seemed, just talking about this specific area and how it has personally affected his life and what he has done and what it has done for him. So there's a couple things. Take a person, take anybody you know. They have the nice assets, the watches, the cars, the fame, the fortune. Odds are it's somebody that we all know. It's a celebrity. Now you ask yourself, there's two things that you ask yourself. One, congratulations, looks like they made it. Or two, they're trying to showcase and be somebody in which they're not. We've heard this before, we've had this conversation, but let me go a little bit deeper. They're either living their dream or they're living someone else's dream because they have two fears. And there's two commonalities in the whole world in which, quite frankly, everybody faces. The fear of not being enough and the fear of being alone. We may have heard this before. In fact, I heard it at Tony Robbins, but it didn't click until last night with the group of people I was with. So there's 5 things. Let me back up. 5 whys in which we do what we do. There's 5 reasons why we do what we do. So I have an example in my paper I'm going to read here. Let's say there's a guy who has, 4 chains on, a nice watch big enough that could finance a cruise ship, right? He has all of this jewelry on him. He's all decked out. It's, quite frankly, we see far too often. It's not a bad thing. Hey, if it's something you want to showcase. But you ask them, or you ask yourself, why do you have all those chains? Why do you have all the jewelry? Well, because I want to be looked at differently. Maybe that's a common answer. I think it's safe to say. Maybe I want to be looked at differently. Well, why do you want to be looked at differently? Maybe I want to have status. I want to have status. I want people to know that I have status. I want to feel that status. Okay, why do you want that status? I want to be somebody. Okay, why do you want to be somebody? Well, Antonio, I want to fit in. I mean, it boils down to it. If I'm going to be honest, I want status because I want to fit in. I want to be a part of the group. Quite frankly, I want to be a part of the conversation. Okay. Well, if you want to fit in, why do you want to fit in? And it comes down to this. Because I fear that I am not going to be good enough. That's one example of not being good enough. Let me take this a step deeper. Let's just say a beautiful car. I love Ferrari. Okay. Why do you have a red Ferrari? Because I want to be attracted to. I want heads turn. I want the fame, the fortune. I want the girls to look at me. Okay. Well, why do you want to be attracted to? Well, because I want a girlfriend. I want a wife. I want a significant other. I want attraction. Okay. Well, you want a girlfriend. Why? Because I fear being alone. And that's the second one. Fear of being alone. Now, all this to say, nothing's right and wrong in this scenario, but it's simply what you're serving, your purpose, how you choose to live your life, what that purpose might mean to you, what you're solving for. Now, that's the foundation. Let's dive more into purpose here. So, finding your purpose to be happy, purpose to serve, purpose to build, scale, grow, whatever you encompass, it's life. So, for example, I'm not saying the guy with the watches, the Rolex, the Corvettes, the Ferraris is a bad thing at all. In fact, I want it, but I want it for me. I want it because it solves my heart. It's a byproduct of my hard work. I don't have the Ferrari yet. Do I want one at this moment? Sure. Is it something that's around the corner? Absolutely not. I have far more other things on my checklist to check off before that's a possibility. That's just where I'm at. Now, the person who is trying to fulfill a purpose that's not theirs just to fit in, reading in between the lines, is it something They're trying to be somebody. They're trying to fight day and night to be somebody in which they're not, and they're spending more time not being present because they're always attracted to what's next. A wife and kids, a father that is attracted to always getting that next chain, the next watch, the next car, is more focused on that next step, that next prestige. Guess who gets hurt the worst? The wife and the kids. Why? Because when they're sitting at the dinner table, when they're sitting on the couch, when they're going on that family vacation, guess who's not present? Pops. He's not present. Why? Because he's chasing the next best possibility. Now, there's two sides of this coin. There's nothing wrong with that. In fact, most of society actually acts in that way. That's where everything is turned. In fact, that's the way I believe what was right and what was right and just. So I sit here and ask myself, I have on my vision board, I showed a client just the other day, I have a Patek Philippe Genevieve. Beautiful. I want it on the vision board. And I asked myself last night, I told this gentleman that we were having this conversation with, I said, I want to be transparent. I want the Genevieve. And without him responding, he just looked at me. And I said, I processed. Why do I want it? Why do I want the Genevieve? I said, because it makes me seem more pristine, more put together. I know my watches. It comes together with class, and it makes me feel like, I'm at that level of prestige. Maybe I'm not wearing, an Invicta, a G-Shock, or a lower class watch. I'm wearing something that means class. Okay, well, why do you want a watch that means that you have class? Well, I want to make it seem like I've made it. I want it to showcase the fact that I've made it. Okay, I'm processing this with myself out loud. I'm sharing this with him. And it all boiled down to me saying, I want to be good enough. So everything in life, every single thing that you own, whether it's the notebook in front of you, it's the computer you're operating on, the phone you're watching this video on, or frankly, the car you're driving, it's all based upon fear not being good enough, or fear being left alone. Those are the two fears. All this to say, everything's on the table now. But now that we know this, now that we can have a conversation, and if you're still watching this video, you're sitting here and saying, wow. We take a moment and our true nature comes out. Our true nature comes out. What does that mean? Well, you become fearless. Now, to be honest, this year is going to be an extraordinary year. The most money I'll ever make is going to happen this year. Guaranteed, there's no shadow of a doubt. For me, I still want the nice things. I still have yet to upgrade my car. I still have yet to upgrade my wardrobe. Okay? Now, does that mean I'm going against what I'm saying? Absolutely not, because I'm serving my purpose. I know that if I've made it, and that's the purpose I'm driven towards, that's what I want. But it unleashes a whole new version of me. I'm not in the mindset of, man, by summertime I need the abs. Yeah, and I need a new bathing suit. And you know what? I need to make sure that, maybe that plastic surgery, or maybe a couple chains to make me fit in and feel good. I'm not in that mindset. I'm in the mindset of serving my divine purpose, my expectations that's really going to drive me forward. Let me go across a couple bullet points here. When you remove the fear of not being good enough and the fear of being alone, is when your true self comes out. Okay. For example, someone coming overseas to the United States, what is their fear? Well, their fear is not being a good enough person, not being a good enough American. Coming overseas, not being good enough. You see a bunch of these people, they're buying hotels, they're buying properties, they're coming from overseas. Why? Maybe they build the foundation and they have that fame, they have that fortune to go ahead and build an incredible life here for their family. Or guess what? They work double time, overtime, all the time around the clock to make it happen. Why? Because they're serving a purpose. But at the same exact time, we could both say it's a fear of not being good enough. There's two sides of the coin. Now, two sides of the coin, someone who comes to the United States and there's a fear of not being good enough, odds are they have all of it put together because they want to make sure that they made it. But over time, they develop the mindset of saying, man, this is what I wanted. This is what I'm serving for. In fact, my drive, my force, my next steps is to be a builder. And that's why that person is able to fulfill their lifestyle. It's all about fulfillment. I talk to CEOs, founders, entrepreneurs all around the world, multi 6, 7 figures to about 850 plus million in annual revenue. I had a conversation about, it'll be almost a year in February when I spoke to my first billionaire that I knew of. Long story short, without sharing any details, it's not a story I'm going to share. That person had everything. We're talking multiple private jets, multiple houses, real estate, properties, vacation, any other weekend. But they didn't fulfill their purpose. And they went through a really dark tunnel. All that to say is to stay focused. Now, we were diving deeper. We're really into this conversation. It's probably close to 45 minutes in. And he says something. He goes, Antonio, I'm able to see more that meets the eye. He says, guess what? You can hear birds chirp 2, 3, 4, 12, 15 miles away. You hear a thumbtack hit the floor. You're able to realize and understand your surroundings. Why? Because you're more present. You're in the moment. You're not worried about chasing something that you need to make sure that you fit in for. And I said, holy smokes. And he kept drilling it. He goes, Antonio, when you get to that point, your true primal instincts come out so you can provide. You find out what you like. Let that sit in. And he says, Antonio, and he's just driving. We're talking, he's very stern. He's sitting up in the couch. He says, Antonio, I'm a man of my own domain. I'm a man of my own domain. I can stand up by myself and really, I can depend on me. I'm okay doing what I need to do. I'm okay not having any fancy watches, cars, or anything like that. When I was younger, guess what? I wanted all of it. That's what he's sharing with me. He wanted all of it. But guess what? He's got to the point where nothing matters except for time with the family and serving his own purpose. Like I said before earlier in the video, serving his purpose of building. That gets him his high. That gets him his drive, his energy, his focus. Because it's something that he appreciates, he loves, he strives. So he also said, no one broke this down for me. I had to go through a point in my life. He was telling me this whole story was talked about because I asked him a question. We're talking over 20 years ago. He says, Antonio, the very first time I had every single thing I wanted in my life. I had a couple $1 million in the bank. Everything I wanted, I checked off my list, and I had a panic attack. It shifted in this moment. He goes, Antonio, no one broke this down for me. Sometimes you have to go to rock bottom to figure it out yourself, and no one's there to save you, but you have to be tough enough to get up and go through it. He said, I didn't go to any events. I didn't go to anybody for counseling. I was strong enough to get through it. Sure. Some people don't have the strength to do that. Some people don't think there's a light at the end of the tunnel. But I'm incredibly grateful for this person because not only did they take their time to share their story, to make me understand, feel, and realize their exact stage of where they were at in life and how brutal it was, but he's living an extraordinary life now. Why? Because he's fulfilling his own purpose. I'm going to share one more thing here. You come to a realization. You come to a realization that, I talk to entrepreneurs all day. I'm talking to CEOs, founders. That's what I do here at the Bet David Consulting Unit. For me, I need to know my purpose before I can ask an entrepreneur, hey, what's your purpose? You're building this huge tech company. It's about to sell for 8 figures. It's about to sell for multiple 8 figures. And I'm going to ask him a cliche question, what's your purpose? I better know mine. But as much as we might say, we could sweep it under the rug, or we could do this, or we could do that, there's many people that have 2 fears, and they're stuck in this fear. Why? Because it's the new generation of the cell phones, the fame, the fortune that's far too easy, that people are showcasing that it's quite easy to attract because you could just start a YouTube video or start this drop shipping course. The whole reason I created this video, 1, it's accountability for myself. 2, I hope the story made enough sense for you to say, man, just make you think. Fear of not being good enough and fear of being left alone. If we can get over those fears, or we can tell ourselves and convince ourselves that's not something that I need to be focused on, then you could sit there and say, you know what? Nothing matters. We had a guy, he sold, was part of a sale of a company, multiple 7 figures. And a direct contributor himself to make that sale happen, to build the EBITDA, to build the opportunity. You got a watch, a multi 5-6 figure watch, an incredible watch. And this is when I first met him. He told me, Antonio, that watch didn't do anything for me. And my first instinct is, what do you mean? I mean, that would have been incredible. I mean, sure, money in the bank would have been nice. But he said that doesn't do anything for me. Right now, I can get a, Ferrari, Lamborghini. I can get the nicest car in the market. This is what he's telling me. But it's going to do absolutely nothing for me. And he's really convincing me. So in this moment, I'm like, I get it. First test drive, adrenaline. Second test drive, nice. Third, it's comfortable, it's nice. But at that point, that's not driving you. So I'm sitting there, I'm like, really? So in real time, I'm processing, I'm saying, who drove me to act this way? What made me feel this way? Why do I want the nice things in life? Is that something that drives me? I'm sitting there, I'm saying, I still do. I still do. But for me, it's my purpose. I want to provide for the family I have now, the future family I will have, and I also want to provide for others. Giving back has always been something that I want to do. I always do. I want to do more of. There's always more we can do. But for me, that also comes with the fruits of labor, the fruits of life, the fruits of what's next and the possibilities. So for me, to answer my own question in this video, and I'm going to say this out loud, I know the purpose that I'm fulfilling, and it's the purpose for me, one, to be the leader of my family, the leader of my future family, and a leader amongst leaders, to share answers, share stories, possibilities, what's next, expectations, because quite frankly, in our younger community, there's far too many people trying to be someone who they're not. We've heard this, I felt this, I've had plenty of these conversations. But for me, I've always felt like I'm someone who is always, for the most case, very present, very in the moment. Now, there's cases where it's like, holy smokes, Antonio, where did your mind just go? I'm sure anybody can relate to this. But for me, now that I know there's two things, the fear of not being good enough and the fear of being alone, that drives many people, scares far too many people. Why do you do what you do? Now you can sit around and I can sit back and I can say, man, look at that couple. He's got the car, the watches, the teeth done, haircut, looks like his hair never grows. It's always perfect. Now I'm not saying that's bad or shame on him. Man, congratulations, looks like a rock star. But my question to myself is, man, is he happy? Who is he trying to impress? Is his fear of not being good enough so overpowering where to the point it's so easy for me to say, man, is there any way I could help? Are you stuck? Or maybe he has everything I just mentioned and he's perfectly fine. Why? Because he's fulfilling his own purpose. And that's just okay too. But many people aren't fulfilling their own purpose. They create that business, they start that business, they join a joint venture with a friend. 10, 15, 20 years later, they're like, Antonio, man, I'm so happy I'm speaking to you. I'm so happy we're on a call. Man, this is incredible. Thanks for taking my call. How's business? Oh, business is great. Awesome. We're going through a conversation. Yeah, what's on your mind? What do you want to process? Actually, no, I just want to get some answers. Well, Johnny, you just told me all this. You joint venture, 20 years. Man, incredible life. Wife, kids? Yeah, wife, 20 years. 4 children. Okay. Where do you live? Malibu. Okay. Man, it's life sounds great. And I pause. John, let me ask you a question. Why do you have the cars? Why do you have the house? Why do you have all this, the prestige? And dig, dig, dig. And we get down to the point where it's a very, very, very tough nerve. And you hit that nerve, and all of a sudden, you help them realize, man, I've just been trying to live to be someone in which I'm not. And it was far too easy because it all starts from a quick domino effect. It's the environment in which you were grown up into. It's the opportunity for you getting your first phone. Your parents give you your first phone. But guess what? We all know iPhones come out, Androids come out every single year. The new phone gets upgraded. Boom, you're feeding into the cycle. Oh, I didn't get the new phone when it came out. Oh, I'm not that cool. It's not me. I want to be talked about. New camera, that's me. New color, man, that's it. Guess what? Okay, I'm always upgrading my phone because now I'm stuck in that cycle. Okay, well, what else comes? Man, I remember being in school. In middle school, we had a dress code that was set up, I believe, 8th grade. So the year right before we graduated middle school. But I remember 6th and 7th grade, there was pressure. Man, you wore that same shirt on Tuesday. Man, it's wintertime, you're still wearing the same shirts. So we're fed in that mindset of we have to upgrade. We have to be that person. Why? Because if not, we're going to get shamed. All this to say, I had an incredible conversation. This conversation is going down in history to be the best conversation to shift my mindset, to go from living a purpose that's not mine to living the purpose that makes sense for me and my family and what I want to serve. And there's no doubt it's going to make me unstoppable. Unstoppable. Why? Because I know exactly what I'm solving for, why I'm solving it for, and if it's my own purpose, man, it's just juicing me up. It's fueling my own fire, and it's all I need. All this to say, I'm very curious. Have you ever had this conversation before